Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market and figure out what is happening because the market is absolutely ripping. Dude, by the way, just out of curiosity, I guess, sort of, took a look at NVIDIA today again, and this is quite the rip. I mean, this is just something truly else right here. This kind of rip is just, that is ridiculous. So if anyone has been short NVIDIA, my prayers go out to you. That's all I'm going to say. But all that being said, let's move into the market. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Make your own decisions, do your own research. And of course, I have my membership section live if you want, $2.99 a month. And I essentially give intraday thoughts on Tesla as it moves. So, you can definitely click the link in the description at the top or the join button beside my channel name. Anyways, moving into it though, Tesla looking like it will be closing up 1.74%, which will be putting us at almost $177 per share, which is very close to that 180 level. Very important level, by the way. And compared to the market itself, Tesla performing, I don't know, I mean, arguably underperforming actually the tech in general. But that's probably because of NVIDIA and Netflix and stuff like that. But it's pretty much performing roughly in line with SPY. So overall, not too shabby, kind of more or less in line with the market, with potentially a very slight underperformance, but nothing to be too worried about. But again, moving into it, let's talk about it. Like, what does this all mean? So yesterday we talked about how today's an extremely important day, right? And it was. So essentially what happened was the first hour candle, which I believe was this candle here, right? Yeah, this is Thursday, right? Yeah. We opened the morning off and it was a pretty wild candle as well, right? So you can see here, we pretty much got rejected once again at the bear flag, the big bear flag. And then we pretty much rocketed all the way down to here. We actually caught it right at the very crucial level, which was 172, almost 172, and bounced off of that and actually recaptured 174 and closed this candle pretty decently above it and still came back down and consistently kept retesting 174-ish and pretty much just holding above it, right? This is why it's important to look at these support and resistance levels, right? You can see before, resistance came finally back above it, and now it acted as support. You know what I mean? Like, it's extremely important to understand those very simple things, but they can really make it or break it for a lot of things. And sometimes that's the main, I would say that's one of the most important things to understand. But moving into it, regardless, the fact that we did actually, hold above 174 was the first step, which is a great sign. And now we're arguably back in the bear flag. I mean, it's a little bit difficult to say for sure, but it definitely feels like we potentially just, it feels like we are back in the bear flag. It could be a false breakup or break back into, I guess, the bear flag. But we'll see how tomorrow brings. But at the moment, not too shabby, man. Not too shabby for the most part. So that's not looking too bad. But like I said, guys, several times, even yesterday, right? I can see as high as a 180. Like, I definitely would not be surprised to see 180. And, we've been calling 180 ever since back here. I personally thought this massive candle right here was going to 180, but it didn't. So just keep that in mind. The market will always find a way to make things extremely difficult. If it was simple, everyone will be extremely rich, right? But it's not. The market will always find a way to make things as just complicated, annoying, or redundant almost as possible. But regardless, right, it looks like 180 is potentially still very much in the picture, but I would be very surprised if we go above 180, at least right now. Like, I do believe that if we do go to 180, let's say even tomorrow potentially, right, or sometime next week or whatever the case may be, let's say we do this, right, like I would be very surprised if we just casually go right above it. You never know with Tesla sometimes, of course, and this market is just absolutely just ripping. So this market is truly something else right now. Bears are just getting completely destroyed right now. I'm very happy I don't have any bears. This is why I don't buy puts very rarely. I hate it. I don't like it. Even calls, honestly, but especially puts, I just don't like it. But nonetheless, if you're a bear, my condolences to you for now. At least with bearish positions. But regardless, it's hard for me to see 180 being broken right now, off of this kind of move right now. It just doesn't feel like there's that much substance in this move. And if we do go up to 180, which is still very possible, I don't think we'll go through it. But let's just say we do, right? Let's just say tomorrow we go to 180 as an example. I personally think that we will get a massive rejection here and we'll go back down. If we lose this, then that's really bad and we go down most likely much further. But, the bulls do have, with this kind of move, they do have something in play here, something that's potentially pretty damn good, in my opinion. It just depends on how it holds after this 180 touch, right? If we do go to 180, the bulls, if they can defend, roughly around this, potentially maybe 170, that's not bad, and they could potentially go even higher. But that's assuming that even happens, right? We'll have to revisit it if 180 does hit. But I definitely don't think it's out of the picture. However, I do throw out a lot of caution here because, again, the move from here to 180 is extremely minimal. It's literally just under 2%. You're essentially playing with a 2% upside with the potential substantially larger move to the downside, even if it decides to just go straight down from here, right? at the very least, So it's the risk versus reward. Again, just my opinion, is atrocious for bulls here. I don't think it's good personally. That's just my opinion, right? Because again, there's two bad things potentially coming up. Number one, potential double top here, right? Now, the fact that we did close candles above this level as opposed to getting rejected like before is a good sign, but there is still technically a double top situation right here. I wouldn't put too much weight into this, and the reason I wouldn't put too much weight into this is because it doesn't seem like a very strong double top. There's not that much like substance behind this double top. It's just one candle. So, not the most convincing double top in the world, but nothing that you should just completely ignore either. But again, nothing too crazy. More often or more likely than not, though, I do think 180 is probably going to be in the picture. And I do think that, we will fill this gap right here. Don't forget, we have a gap of pretty much 180 and a half, right? 180.52 or whatever this is. So, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if we do fill this gap, and potentially best case scenario is fill this gap at 184 up here. But that's two resistances of gaps. Don't forget, gaps are always resistance or supports. In this case, it's a resistance because we're going back up into it to fill it. And pretty often, these gaps act as a resistance or vice versa. If you come down to fill a gap, it acts as a support, right? That's a pretty common thing to see. It doesn't mean it has to, but it usually does, like more often than not. So if we do come up to 180, not only is that just a massive level of resistance in general from just historical movement on Tesla, whether it's here, whether it's all the way back here, right? It's always been a pretty major level, right? And even more so is 190, and then even more so is 200. So we're entering some pretty like weathery weather, I guess, above us, if you will. So stormy weather above us, right? So that's something that is extremely important to understand, in my opinion. Does look like it will hit 180, and I do think it will hit 180. But again, a lot of resistance is waiting for us right at that level. A lot of selling pressure is not far above us from here. So I really want to see how it reacts to 180. If we ever see a candle that forms on the daily that shows like a true, like this is the top, at least for now, candle, I will of course let you guys know. As of right now, not so much, right? Some people can argue that this is a bit of a reversal candle right here, because if you get these kind of hammer candles on an uptrend as well, that's also considered a reversal. I don't think so. I personally don't see it. And I personally do see 180 being touched. So that's kind of what I'll be paying attention to personally. But if we get like a run up to 180 and then we rally back down hard and we set up like a hammer candle like this, these kind of candles right here, that could be pretty bad too. So it really just depends on how it decides to act. But for now, I'll be looking for 180. Maybe I'll get some puts at 180. I'm not entirely sure. Right now, I have cash secured puts that expire tomorrow at 170, and I'm just letting that die off sort of, and I'm gonna absorb all that premium. And then probably early next week, hopefully maybe even Monday, I'll most likely sell more cash secured puts for that week as well, probably around the 170 level as well. And I'm just gonna slowly coop in, I guess, if you will, the premium from these options that I'm selling. But yeah, that's kind of the main thing I'll be paying attention to right now. Moving over to the 21 EMA, we're well above that now, which is great. Oh, by the way, we are actually pretty much right underneath the 50-day moving average resistance. So that's another thing to keep in mind. We did completely break above the 100-day. Oops, that's the 200. Where's the 100? The 100-day moving average, which is, great. So we're above that, and we're above the 21. So yeah, I mean, the one thing that would be, I guess, cautious is that we are pretty much hugging the green line of the Bollinger Band. So keep that in mind. That is a little bit, not careful with that, I would say. I always say this, whenever you hug these for too long, especially, you usually revert back to the medium. And this is, of course, that white line. So just keep that in mind. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, Tesla's not looking bad at all. The daily on the RSI looks pretty great. Like, removing all biases aside, yeah, the daily on the RSI looks pretty good. It doesn't mean that there's no drawdowns from here, but the way I look at it with this kind of RSI, this doesn't mean that the short term is bullish. To me, this daily RSI means that the trend is bullish. To me, that's what that means. That if Tesla does have any reversals from here, and let's say it comes back down to like 153 roughly, all that to me means is the fact that that's buy the dip opportunity. Just my opinion, not financial advice. But with these kind of moves, it does make, to me right now, this 144 level a little bit less likely. And the fact that, this kind of 160 to 153-ish level seems to be more like the potential bottom. And I do think we'll come down there one more time, but whether or not we'll come down here with this kind of move now does look a little bit less likely. But you never know with a market like this. But at the moment, I wouldn't be holding my breath for this move here, but I definitely wouldn't be surprised if we do come back at least here one more time. So like this, for instance, and then get maybe a double top or double bottom situation, and then we rally back up. Something like that wouldn't shock me whatsoever. But as usual, the market will find a way to make this as obnoxious and annoying and prolonged as possible. So just keep your head up, focus up. Don't get too greedy is my opinion, of course. And yeah, That's pretty much what I'm currently seeing and what I am currently thinking. TSLQ, kind of re-entering that little bull flag right here. It's kind of on the verge of it. So, be very careful with this. But yeah, it's an interesting situation that we're finding ourselves in. But again, I don't think the risk versus reward up here for the bulls is all that great. I would personally, just my opinion, wait for a drawdown. But that's just what I think. I could be completely wrong. Of course, you always have to make your own decisions regarding that. But either way, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.